And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glasser coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcast, plus also as well, Ox 1947, LakersBall.com. Go ahead and check out what he has to say on the Lakers this upcoming season at LakersBall.com. Plus also, he owns a company. Yeah, that's Ox right there, Ox 1947 at LakersBall.com. Plus, also, he owns a company that's on his shirt right there. His outfit right there is full of Simblades. Simblades with a Y.com. Go ahead and check out why you need your lawn transformed like nothing else in the Southern California area. And you can do it today at Simblades, Simblades with the Y.com. I also host again the Pop Culture Cosmos and also, of course, Inside Sports Fantasy Football. We've got two great episodes coming up for you this week. Inside Sports Fantasy Football. Also, as well, a state of pro wrestling on the Pop Culture Cosmos. So go ahead and check us out this week, wherever you get your podcast. Plus, also, as well, Lakerholics.com. Jamie Sweet and Laker Tom, the number one Lakers blogger that's out there. You know they're arguing about something, and Laker Tom has gotten a little bit of controversy with his White Mamba comment. Go ahead and check out why in this latest article at Lakerholics.com. Of course, Empire Jeff TV, he said he'll be in here in a few minutes. Go ahead and subscribe today to Empire Jeff TV and go ahead and check out what he's talking about when it concerns the NBA. Right there for you at Empire Jeff TV. And speaking of subscribing, not only should you subscribe to Empire Jeff TV, not only should you subscribe to us, but our good friend John McCallion. Go ahead and support what he's doing on YouTube today at the John McCallion channel. And of course, like I said, subscribe today. It's the Little Joe right next to the Big Joe. So go ahead and tap on the Little Joe so you can get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air. I think we've got legitimately, 960 subscribers. That's what I see. So if that's the case, and it's legit, we only need 40 more legitimate subscribers to get over the 1,000 mark again. So please go ahead and help us out today, right there for you at the Lakers Fast Break podcast. But I'll tell you what, 961, sweet, 39 left. Counting them down indeed. But great to have everyone here. Of course, upcoming on Wednesday, we've got the Chicago Bulls report. Looking forward to that. Plus also on Thursday, Toronto Raptors will be in town, aka Sean's neck of the woods. They'll be talking Toronto Raptors. I'll tell you the great guests that are stopping on by here in a little bit. But today, our conversation is veering towards the general consensus of all these individuals who have stopped by the program so far. And I'm very grateful for everyone who has thought, who's taken the time out of their day to go ahead and stop on by to give previews of their team. And I hope you as well, you've appreciated and enjoyed it in the chat, out in as far as you're listening or you're watching. I hope you've had a great chance to go ahead and check out all the people who have shared their thoughts on their team so far. Well, we've got a consensus of where each and every one of those individuals have talked about where they think the Lakers are. So we'll talk about if that's a fair or unfair assessment on where the general consensus of the Lakers is so far. And that's coming up here in a minute. Plus also as well, JaVale McGee. Yes, he finally did get waived and his contract stretched by the Dallas Mavericks. He is now a free agent, or he will soon be a free agent. Probably by the time you hear this, he'll clear waivers. Where is he headed to next? We talked about it on last week's show, but it's worth revisiting. There's some rumors about it where he might go. Could it be the Lakers? We'll tell you the word that Woj is thinking about right here upcoming on the show as well. But first, my friends, we've also been talking about the behind the scenes stuff when it concerns the merchandise, the goods, as far as all the stuff that Joe is cooking up in Merch World. He just sent over a little while ago some great logos and text that I was just saying, wow, they're really looking good. So I think that we're go on that. So I want to just make sure and let everyone know we're progressing towards that. Joe, before we get into the conversation, Empire Jeff TV has joined us. Want to go ahead and make sure that Joe, that you tell everybody out there, we're really progressing forward on the merchandise so far.
Yeah, we. I was pleasantly surprised at the font of Lakers Fast Break because the logo we got, the gear we got with a variety of logos. I told my apparel lady to just kind of throw stuff out there and see what might look good. The consensus is most of it looked really good. The only edit is, and I think it was a correct one. No, it was a correct one. Was we do want to put Lakers Fast Break under the logo, and it looks really really good. So I think you will come training camp. I think a lot of you are going to really really like the gear, and we'll decide what we're going to decide on what we're going to decide on what I guess the finishing touches will be here soon enough.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that. So go ahead and make sure that when Joe makes them available, you go ahead and make sure and get your gear. Lakers Fast Break gear coming up in the not too distant future indeed. But it is, of course, what people have been talking about on this show. We've had a lot of great experts coming up from around the NBA talking about their favorite teams. But as you know, the one thing we ask them to go ahead and do before they leave is give us a fair and honest assessment of the Los Angeles Lakers. And pretty much right down to a T, we've seen them picked right around the third or fourth in the Western Conference. They still feel that there's a little bit more that the Lakers would have to do in order to go ahead and surpass in the regular season, where the Phoenix Suns and the Denver Nuggets, the two consensus leading favorites in the Western Conference, before they go ahead and pass those two. But here today to talk about that and to talk about to see if it's something that is realistic or if they think otherwise. Good man indeed. He is the madman from Toronto. He did get out of Toronto traffic to talk to three chicks in a pod like I did earlier today. Go ahead and check out our conversation on the Lakers, the Kobe statue, the NFL, and more that we did on Three Chicks in a Pod right there for you on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. It is, of course, Sean Grice. And Sean, great to have you here, my friend. Want to ask your thoughts. You've been here for each and every one of them. You were even here with the one I wasn't with Chris LeBron talking the Knicks. So I ask you your thoughts. The synopsis is right around the third, fourth spot for the Lakers. If things break right, maybe some things could work out a little bit higher. That seems to be the consensus of the experts so far. Do you agree or disagree? And if so, why? Coming up, Sean. There you go. Go. Okay, see, I
Yeah.
didn't hit it for you that time.
No,
There
I
you go.
did. I
Yes.
did. Yeah, I agree. I agree with the consensus, Gerald. I really do. I think if we use Spence from last night, Wes from the Hawks, our good friend Matt Moderno from Washington, they all kind of had the same impression that you know top heavy, staying healthy, the depth is there, likely gonna stay probably within that top three seed, but some people aren't as high. But nobody had us like in a play-in situation or as a sixth seed. So I think for a lot of people, I think the Lakers season, as far as a consensus, is championship or bust. Um, I even with a possible injury here or there, Gerald, to LeBron or AD, I don't see the kind of drop off that we saw in 2021 when AD went down. Uh, the defense just fell off a cliff, but it was all right because we still had LeBron. But when LeBron went down, unfortunately, we had a G League level offense, and I don't see that kind of predicament this year. Just based on the depth we have, and we're really top heavy as far as playmaking is concerned, which is a plus. Shooting, yeah, it'll come and go. It always does. But I think we'll be able to keep our heads above water even with some injuries here and there. So I agree with the consensus as far as our guests are concerned. I still see us as a top three seed, and just generally, a lot of people love the moves we made. Like even if they weren't too high on the Lakers, there was a consensus that the moves they made were in their right trajectory of what they needed.
There you go. Indeed. Absolutely. So also here today, good man indeed. You got to go ahead and subscribe to his channel. Now, what are you waiting for? It is Empire Jeff TV. He is the man behind the Agree to Disagree. Sounds like almost like our show. It should be like a subtext right there. For
No, I disagree to disagree.
okay, see, there you go. My case in point. It is Empire Jeff TV, and Jeff, great to have you here, my friend. I knew you were battling the LA traffic, so I figured you would be here by midnight. But when it comes to kidding, LA joke. When it comes to what you're hearing about our shows with the guys that have come in from the experts from all around the country so far that have talked about their teams. We've had several from the Eastern Conference already. The gauging seems to be where the Lakers are at, where they're seeing so far this season, barring any moves or trades or injuries, about a third or fourth place finish overall during the regular season. For the most part, I think on this panel, I think that's where we see them as well, barring anything that's done, barring anything that's going crazy or awry like that. Where do you see the Lakers as it stands right now? Do you agree or disagree with what most of these people that have been hopping on our show have been saying?
Pretty much agree. I had them between second and fourth, really. So probably the third being the average. So I can see them finishing third, absolutely. So everything that that Magic Man said, they are top heavy with playmaking, but I believe this roster was constructed with the idea of giving Braun and AD games off and less minutes. So and able to carry that, and I believe that those two roster spots were left open to add to that depth. So I could see them being anywhere between the second or fourth seed. I could see Phoenix guys missing a lot of games. I could see Denver probably not really focused on the number one seed anymore. Now they got the chip. I think they're going to try to get into the playoffs healthy. So I can see them take some games off. I think the Kings will be hungrier. I could see them. They were the third seed last year. I could see them maybe rise in the regular season. A team like that probably takes the regular season a little bit more serious. Clippers going to clip, and let's see those other teams like out there. I mean, from 5
Memphis
to the play-in
after the jaw suspension.
The jaw suspension, but I like what Memphis has done. I like the Marcus Smart pickup. I like the leadership that even at this stage of his career that Derrick Rose can bring them. I think we've all seen them play without Ja, including last season. They still got the 2 seeds, so I could see Memphis being 2 through 4 as well, because being a young team, and I think those guys are going to be out there trying to prove themselves with Ja out, and I just think Marcus Smart being there is going to impact them. So I've got them in the same range as the Lakers, 2 to 4, but got to see how that lines up though.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate you joining us. It is Empire Jeff TV, Magic Man Sean Grice, and also here as well, good man indeed. It is the guy behind Ox 1947 at LakersBall.com. Plus, he owns a great company you got to check out today if you live in the Southern California area. Simblades with a Y.com. It is Joe Soro. And Joe, you mentioned earlier about the merchandise for the Lakers Fast Break. Obviously, it helps us if the Lakers are winning, are a good team, and everybody rejoices, and we don't feel like we're at a funeral like we were last year after 12 games, 2-10. I felt like wearing black all the time because it was just like so depressing every single game. Like, how you doing, Joe? Gerald, I'm doing okay. It's really great. Team sucks. What can I say? So I ask you, my friend, I don't foresee that type of thing that's coming around. I don't see that type of start for the Lakers. I am in agreement with what most of the experts that have come on here that have been saying, that there should be falling somewhere, like Jeff was saying, second or fourth. Who knows as far as where the breaks will lie. I do think, though, that Denver, just their sheer advantage of what they had as far as a home court advantage, which, people, they had to fly in there, usually on the back end of a trip or after a back-to-back, and you're going there and it's the elevated altitude that gets these other teams. So I thought that was a built-in advantage that seems to be taken away a little bit. So I'd probably say they will not find the same success that they did this year, to the extent they're still going to be very successful, but home court advantage may not be as abundant for them. Your thoughts on where the Lakers so far getting a readout? Obviously, we still have more than a month to go to evaluate in full, but are you getting a good readout along the lines of what those other experts have been talking about this so far this
I
offseason?
honestly haven't really been paying attention to quote unquote experts right
Well,
now.
the people that have been on this show, the guys that you've interviewed, the gals that you've interviewed on the show.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, I mean, I'm not going to say they're trying to be polite, but the easiest thing to say right now is that the Lakers are going to play well in general. But at the same time, if you're paying attention to what was done in the summer, the team is structured to withstand some negatives, which is times that guys like LeBron and AD aren't playing. But my assessment is not so much them being able to take a week off. My assessment is, can you manage the in-game minutes? Because I think that's really ultimately what matters. The reason why that's important is you don't want to lose the chemistry. You don't want to lose the continuity. That's why it's important that these guys play as many games, but you limit their activity. And that's where the acquisitions and the trades and the young guys that might be developing more skills to help will come into play. And it's going to come down to Darvin Ham and the players without blame going anywhere else anymore. The blame can actually also dissipate from Darvin Ham if players are not healthy to play. And players not healthy to play, that is AD and LeBron. LeBron has a little bit of a leeway, but AD, there's a little bit of pressure on AD with him now in the prime of primes and still somewhat not truly fulfilled potential. I know we're asking much, but it's true. AD was supposed to be an MVP. He was definitely supposed to be a Defensive Player of the Year by now. So I am still looking at AD as the top of the mountain guy. And then LeBron is going to kind of be circling around that mountain, making sure that he's, I guess, preserving himself until it matters when playoff starts. And it's very difficult to predict anything right now based off of no play. We're basing it strictly on hope and the acquisitions that Rob has brought in due to his limited ability to do what he did. They were limited. They only could do so much. They couldn't go get a third guy that would probably make things a little easier. Third guys these days are making $40 million. Some of them are even making 50 and 60. Bradley Beal as an example. So it's important that we wait. We want to wait. There's only so many damn predictions we can make between July 31st and September 30th. That dead time in the NBA start to get redundant in the discussion. We've talked about what this team might be, where it's going to go, how it's going to be. Yes, it's nice the first 4 or 5 times, but at this point, I don't really want to talk about what should happen or what could happen. We need to start looking at what makes sense when it makes sense. And that's where I stand on that.
Once again, it's the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate you watching and listening right here, of course. Let me get it back to you, Mr. Madman from Toronto, Madman from Canada, the guy that just got out of Toronto traffic to stop by here on the show. Let me ask you this. When it comes to what you've heard so far, a lot of the experts have already been on the show that have talked about the Lakers. They've stated that they like the additions that the Lakers made. I know that we picked these additions apart, and some may have seen that as a negative, some may as a positive. I just wanted to make sure everything was brought out to the table, where these guys stand in their careers. Their defensive ratings were all on the higher side, which was very concerning to me, but they all have either promise or they have played at a good level already so far in the league. Your thoughts on their assessment of the actual individuals that they brought in the offseason, and do you think they can just go ahead and make sure that adds depth to the Lakers lineup that you really like?
Yeah, you know something, Gerald? I thought that I think the one move that was liked, from ear to ear by everybody was the Gabe Vincent signing,
Yes.
which was a surprise, I think, to just a lot of us because you kept hearing Gabe's name with the Raptors, you kept hearing it with the Spurs or the Rockets.
I can't wait until we bring on a Miami expert so we can hear their assessment of that.
Yes, because like it was very subdued. Rob was like a black mamba in the weeds of sub-Saharan Africa. Nobody knew he was out there, and he managed to sign Gabe Vincent, so that was a plus. And then not to put too much of an emphasis on it, Gerald, because he is a role player, but he did sign Torian Prince almost right away as well. Like as soon as Vincent was signed about 10 minutes later, Torian Prince was signed. So obviously, getting in an accomplished volume 3-point shooter was obviously a necessity on Rob's bingo card. So a lot of people like that move. Just as a simple role player, I think you're not asking Torian Prince to go above and beyond what he's
So it
capable of.
doesn't concern you that Minnesota wasn't willing to go ahead and pick up his 10 million on his last contract, because
No,
it's not like what Milwaukee got when they got Beasley. Beasley, they're just taking literally on a flyer because they're paying him the minimum. The Lakers are paying him like 4.5, not a whole lot more, but it's just still they are getting a player that was let go by another team.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's true.
So it doesn't
there's
concern you.
no, it doesn't concern me. I think that again, not if everybody wants to go back and take a look at our thoughts on what we had on Torian Prince, I'll post that. But our general thoughts were that Minnesota just asked him to do too much. They put way too much on his plate last year, considering the fact that they had a multitude of problems. They had injury problems, they had rotational issues, and let's face it, Gerald. A lot of what Chris Finch was doing was just throwing crap against the wall to see if it stuck, because the Rudy Gobert experiment was not working out so well. And obviously there's consequences with that, and sometimes it's a guy who isn't going to get a lot of playing time, or not the playing time he thinks he deserves, or he's not going to get the touches, or what have you. I just think it was a situation where Prince was put in a position that he wasn't um, shouldn't have been asked to do. I think that coming to the Lakers, he's not going to be asked to do that. There are plenty of other capable wings that the Lakers have uh, to play that role, rather than having Torian Prince play the 3-and-D role in Minnesota, which he is not. He's not a 3-and-D player. He is a good volume 3-point shooting role player who can play good defense when he's committed to a team concept. Again, like we talked about, if he's on the floor with Rui and Austin, or Van Doe and say like Gabe Vincent or D'Lo, I feel much more better about his defense being guarding the second or third best perimeter player on the team than you are asking him, yeah, Torian, I need you to make 4 threes tonight, and you also got to shut down the opposing player's best uh, offense. So just asking him to play that role is asking for problems. Look, Gerald, if we get anything out of Cam Reddish this year, that's a bonus. I think
If he's going to play anywhere in the league, well, it's got to be here,
it's
because
got to
this
be
is
here.
a team that ups the tempo. It just, if he can get to the point where he can shoot 33%, 34% on 3-pointers, I'm not asking for that much. I'm just asking for league average,
Yeah,
34%. If he could shoot 34%, my God, that's 4 to 5% above what he normally shoots. That would
100%.
be monumental for helping him out and keeping him out there, so he becomes available for running out in the wing for LeBron for easy dunks
Oh, absolutely, because he's going to be called on to play.
and
I'm
playing
not
decent defense too.
and playing decent defense. I don't know how much of a role he's going to be asked to play. Like we'll find out as the season
He'll have
goes
to
on.
earn a spot.
He'll have to earn it. If everybody's healthy, he'll have to earn it. So I'm almost thinking, he's an emergency of an emergency wing, based
Okay.
on health. Other than that, you're right, Gerald. He's just gonna have to earn it. He's just gonna have to play better than other Lakers right now, and I just don't see it. Rui might drop off a little bit, but I don't see him edging out Rui for any significant playing time. Don't really see him edging out Vando for any significant playing time. Prince has a role set in this team, so I think it's going to be very difficult for Reddish to find minutes when this team is healthy. So, like you said, he's going to have to play really hard when he's out there and make Darvin Ham and the coaching staff put him out there more.
I kind of disagree with you though on Vandy. If Vanderbilt doesn't start, where do you actually utilize him off the bench? That to me is going to be a problem, is finding him minutes if he does not start for this team. But then again, that's a question we're going to have to answer possibly down the road. We'll see how it shakes out in training camp. Jeff, another problem, and we can go back to Vanderbilt if you like, but D'Angelo Russell seems to be the one name that was mentioned constantly by our experts about D'Angelo Russell being an enigma, so to speak. I mean, they were surprised in some cases that we actually brought him back. So I think that he's going to be a good regular season performer for us, as he was statistically in Minnesota, although the off the floor, on the floor numbers in Minnesota did not benefit D'Angelo very much, which was the reason why he got traded. But I think that he can have a good on-court season. In fact, he needs to in order to solidify himself continuously still as a regular starting NBA point guard. If if he doesn't do well this season, people are going to start to have questions about him. But it's the playoffs that really got him. His mistakes, his flaws really started to show out in the playoffs. But your thoughts on D'Angelo Russell, who was pointed out on more than one occasion by the guys coming and gals coming on this show to talk Lakers with us.
So D'Lo, well, I'll tell you what, if Minnesota thought they can get D'Lo at 17 million for this season, he'd still be in Minnesota. But secondly is that there's a couple of things here. The D'Lo thing I like from a standpoint of getting Gabe Vincent to not only who actually had a better defensive year overall than Schroeder last year and can hit big shots and can fill it up. But I like his one, that he's a better defender, least defensive rating than Dennis. And two, he applies pressure to D'Lo offensively. So if you took D'Lo out last year and you're just going to throw a shooter in there, he didn't have the 3-point making ability in volume when he gets hot, like someone like Gabe Vincent does. So having someone who can come off the bench, apply pressure for D'Lo. Again, D'Lo's either going to play well or his contract is there to be moved. It works out either way. Even with the Cam Reddish portion of that there, you can only trade 1 to 2 minimum players depending on how the deal goes. And maybe there's some guys they probably don't want to move on a minimum. So Cam's probably there for that slot. So if you're getting D'Lo in here and D'Lo comes in and he gets you 15 a game at 17 mil a year, it works. If it doesn't, it's an expiring contract. More than likely, he probably gets moved along with one of those minimum contracts, and they priced him perfectly to be able to make all kinds of moves with him, for up, down, and money, either or. So,
and that's the thing. I mean, all those contracts outside of the top two are easily movable, and that's, you bundle 1 or 2 of those up, you can get yourself a severe upgrade right around the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what it's there for. So he looked around the market. There was no deal that could keep his bird rights moving forward. The Lakers looked at him and said, "You want your bird rights? All right, lower your asking price. We'll get you. You can keep your bird rights. We move you. You can keep them. Win-win. Especially at that, you get a starting point guard in this league at 17 some million a year. Not too bad. So, and like I said, I really like the pressure of Gabe Vincent being there to apply the pressure on him. If he has some bad games, you plug him right in there. And, technically D'Lo's going into more than likely a free agent year again. So he's going to be motivated. And even if D'Lo has a great season, again, he has not been great in playoffs. So they're going to have to try to figure that out. And Lakers, quite frankly, have to figure out how to use D'Lo. If you're going to try to Robert Horry him and keep him in the corner on catch and shoot, you're limiting his skill set. They have to figure a way to get him more involved. But I do think these other guys defensively, the Princes, the Gabes, and all these guys will go up because they've never played with a player like Anthony Davis. So that alone is gonna help them on the team defensive side. So, but D'Lo, when it comes down to it, I'm hoping he has a good year. I really do because I like D'Lo's skill set. I like his shot making ability. I like him being able to pull up in transition, hit a three, and he's got a better passing ability than people think when he's engaged. Also can make free throws in the clutch. So if D'Lo can be D'Lo all the way through the year, then it works for us. If not, he's probably out here.
Wanted to ask you this, Joe. One of the other individuals that they cited was obviously Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves has played so tremendously for Team USA. He was the big hero yesterday against Greece. We'll see how he plays tomorrow when none of us will be awake for the game against Jordan and the Rondé Hollis Jefferson, aka Kobe lookalike game. I'm sorry, 1:40 a.m. Pacific, 4:40 a.m. Eastern.
He's Kobe and Jordanian. I mean, I never met anybody born in New York, played at Arizona, all of a sudden become Jordanian. I thought that was the first time I think I've ever seen that, but I digress. What was your question now, Joe?
Well, my question is basically that your thoughts on if he can go ahead and continue this. Give him a break, give him a vacation. Do not have him go hard in training camp at all. But once he gets back into game shape coming up at the start of the season, where do you see him progressing to? How far do you think it can go with Austin Reeves? I mean, the people that we were talking to all thought highly of Austin Reeves. They think that the sky is the limit with this kid. Are you in that same mindset? You've been very complimentary of him so far, and I think that's going to be the case.
If he averages 3-4 points more a game, it's going to be astronomical in terms of his benefit to the team. You also have to figure there's guys like Max Christie. You had mentioned Reddick. You know, any did I say Reddick?
Reddick, he hosts a podcast now, but he's in retirement.
No, I meant
Reddish.
Jeez. Somebody said Reddick earlier today, and it's been in my head.
But he was on with Rondo.
Reddish.
Reddish.
Look, Rob put together kind of like a potluck here. And when you go to a buffet of a potluck, like a picnic, you're going to get probably 2 or 3 recipes of food that you probably eat and go, whoa, never had this. It's pretty good. And then you're going to have probably 4 or 5 that are like, lasagna, mac and cheese, regular bread. So that's the same situation here. You have so many players that have something to prove, even the ones that are ascending, guys like Austin Reeves, guys like Max Christie. Any one of these guys who is better this year than next year is going to help this team. I mean, huge. So now imagine if you go to a picnic and there's 5 dishes that are off the charts. Yeah, man, this thing is not really a hit and miss. It could be a complete. It's very unlikely that it'll miss, but then you got the middle ground, and then you got the chance of it being huge. The chance of it being huge is LeBron and AD playing 70 games this year, 65 to 70 between the two each. And then you have guys like Austin, Max, Gabe Vincent, guys like that who up their level up. They put their level up. And with guys like LeBron and AD, there is a good chance that happens. And then, of course, D'Lo is the whooping boy for the LA Lakers right now. The second an earthquake happens, everyone blames D'Lo. The second he plays well, it's an anomaly. So he can't win either way. He can't win either way. If the Lakers lose, it's his fault. If they win, he did his job. There's no credit for him. So for him to at least get to a point where he's not missing wide open shots against the Denvers, against the Memphises in the playoffs, you know, that's pretty much what his value is going to be at. And I have to keep pointing out, D'Lo had a bad series against Denver, but so did Jimmy Butler and so did Gabe Vincent. So before you guys start toting Jimmy Butler as the greatest two guard in the history of civilization in the Eastern Conference run and the finals in 2020, understand that Jimmy Butler looked pedestrian against Denver in the finals. Gabe Vincent, after the first game in the finals, looked pedestrian. Denver just played perfect ball for an entire season. There's nothing you can deny. They had the luck on their side of no major injuries, and then they played like a team. Everybody did their job, and they won it all. And they stopped everybody on their path. They swept the Lakers. That there's no more dominance than that. Regardless of how close the games were in game 2 and 4, they still lost. So my only thing with Denver is it looks eerily the same as Dallas in 2011. I believe this is a one and done for them. And I'll wait for them to prove me wrong.
Magic Man, can you get good tacos in Canada? That's what's being asked by Darren in our chat. I know Joe was saying good tacos in San Diego. So can you get good tacos in Canada?
Yes, but not in the Toronto area. I think I'd have to go to where Gerald was in the great province of British Columbia. Yes, in the city of Vancouver, because I had an argument with people in this city the other day. It's like, guys, there's a lot of nice Italian restaurants in Toronto, and we have a lot of nice Greek restaurants, but we don't have the kind of food diversity that you guys think we do.
Vancouver does. I can tell
Vancouver
you that
does.
Yes,
Vancouver
you pointed that out to me, and I'm very indebted to you for saying that. Darren says he's in LA, so tacos are a way of life. Absolutely. Here in Vegas, all I have to tell everybody is Roberto's Tacos. They're the bomb. And that's it. San Diego, I'm sure, except,
I'm not sure why you're laughing, Sorrel. You were
San Diego. I never dispute
Hispanic. You don't tell me when I laugh.
You were humming lasagna.
I will never
there.
dispute Mexican food in San Diego. Lucha Libre burritos are legend.
Lasagna is a lazy dish. I remember when I used to have banquets in football.
You're out of your.
I'm telling you right now, it's a lazy dish.
No.
Put a bunch of cheese on something and put it in the oven. Come on, have some.
You got to get the sour cream. You got to make sure you got the filling right.
I'm not a big ricotta guy. That's why.
Oh, that's
well, that makes sense.
The truth comes out.
The truth comes out.
There you go.
So San Diego and LA.
Nothing against lasagna.
If you can't handle the truth, don't ask questions that you can't handle.
Southern California and Mexican food is the best. Absolute best. You can never argue with that. But Sean, getting back to the Lakers, when it comes to what we heard overall, again, 3rd or 4th in the conference, doesn't seem to be a problem with that. But I think that the Lakers could find the opportune time with the right move, but also if they stay healthy to be a little bit more than that. I said 47 to 52 wins is what I'm thinking of at this point in time. May change, may not, but that puts about all these other teams in that same context. I don't think there will be one team in the Western Conference that'll hit 60. I think one of these teams will hit 55 with the right, breaks. LeBron and AD stay healthy. The depth is there. You never know. They could be the team that finds their way through, especially if the back half of the schedule breaks out right, as it seemingly looks like it can do for the Los Angeles Lakers.
100%, Gerald. And I was just for blanks and giggles, I looked at the schedule from the NBA from last year, and it was really interesting. You remember that I think through the first 2.5 months of the year, the East had a better record against the West, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That had a lot to do with the fact that at the beginning of the season, they bunched and crammed a bunch of back-to-back games for the West, and the East Coast teams were coming in off a day or two rest, and they would happen to win by about 10 or 15 points. It's a little different now with this in-season tournament. They're not really giving a lot of teams from the East Coast the rest that they gave them last year, just based on, like we were saying, Gerald, they wanted this in-season tournament. So, I mean, if you want to make an omelet, you got to crack a few eggs and A lot got to get sacrificed. I don't think the East is going to have that kind of same advantage that the West over the West this year. On top of that, we all know we are the superior conference. That's just the way it is. It's been that way for the past 20 years. It's probably going to continue to be that way until the East gets their act together. But the fact of the matter is that we cannibalize ourselves. That's just the way it is when you play in the West. You're likely not, when you play a team, a really good team, it's likely you're not going to win 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 4. You're probably going to split. So I think if you have that mindset, looking at it, yeah, I agree, Gerald. Probably won't be a team that cracks 60 wins unless there's a team, Gerald, like the Jazz were a couple years ago, where everybody's just firing on all cylinders. They've got like no injury history, and they ended up just winning 60 games. I don't see that replicating for any team, so I agree with you. I think anybody tops out, like you said, Gerald, 56, maybe 57 at the most.
I will say to the chat, I know that they're asking, if you go to the Palms buffet, I think it's every Wednesday. It's their seafood buffet, all you can eat crab and lobster. All you can eat lobster right there for you. And they have it served in different ways, and they also serve crab a couple different ways there as well. So just want to let you know, it's right around the $65 price range. It would definitely well worth it if you want to go ahead and make sure and up your cholesterol level. Indeed. I do want to mention to Magic Man before I send it to Jeff, I want to let you know that I think what was in the comments right here, Taqueria Los Mayas in Buffalo is good. So since you are in that area, my friend, and you have done a New York trip in the past 2 weeks, just wanted to give you idea on where you might want to go.
I like it better than Tuna Helper myself.
Thank you very much. What's
While we're all talking about these fine dining places, I could just see Joe walking into the local Ralph's and getting it, just the tuna spread. There you go.
Yeah, but don't get tacos in New York.
Okay. All right, brother.
It's not what they do there. That's my city. I love it, but trust me,
but pizza.
Pretty much anything Italian. They got the real Italian, they got the real Chinese food. They got all kinds of different, different stuff. If you're gonna go like Latin cuisine, don't do Mexican food. Do like Puerto Rican, do Dominican, do something that's different. Don't do Mexican food in New York. Trust.
Bloodhound says Bloodhound says you could roll over in a good and a great taco is in Southern California. Yeah, you could just walk right down the street, and that's true in SoCal. But
so Jeff, Gerald, do you prefer hard shell or soft shell tacos?
That's what I was asking earlier in the chat, because Joe had mentioned this great San Diego place for tacos. That he didn't mention exactly where it was. That's why I was asking hard shell or soft.
Of course,
I prefer hard shell for me. I do like soft
where it's
shell.
From. It depends where
hard
it's from.
shell.
It depends where you're going to. Yeah,
I like it crispy.
Crispy, absolutely. There you go. But
like bacon,
Jeff,
like you need your tacos like your bacon, crispy.
There you go. Jeff, I want to ask you this though. For most analysts that have been on this show, but also as well that have been on almost every show I've listened to, with one difference, have mentioned the West is going to be a bloodbath. One thought the West was absolutely overrated, and they started to expound upon why, and I just couldn't believe their logic, so I kind of just turned that podcast off. But the West, I think, is going to be very loaded up front with any one number of 6 to 7 teams, I think, that can realistically think about getting a spot high up there. Not maybe essentially winning the conference, but can do very well 45 plus wins in the Western Conference. With that type of mindset going in, how tough a battle do you think it is going to be for the Lakers this season?
I mean, not as tough as battle as whoever has to subscribe that person medication for saying the West is overrated. But outside of that,
I just turned it off.
That's crazy. Okay, outside of that, look, when you think about the West, you think about just look at last season. Look how many people were bunched between the 4th and like the 12th seed going into the end of it there, right? So at any given time, you had teams literally trying to I don't want to play this team. I don't want to play this team. They were cooking the books at the end of the season, trying to duck to where it backfired, and all of them, they all had to literally win just to not face Phoenix. And the Clippers well, we don't want the Lakers to top us, so we have to kind of win out, right? So it was just, you don't want to put yourself in that type of situation again, but it is going to be bunched up. The West is going to be a dogfight. The West is going to be crazy. And I think you're going to see the teams that want to take the regular season serious continue to go down that trend where they really don't. So, like, I think the only team last season, if you looked at everyone from Phoenix to the Clippers to the Lakers to the Warriors, none of them care where they got seated. The Lakers are like, so we'll play the second seed. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like, we can beat them. So at the end of the day, I think it's going to come down to like how the standings start lining up, what your health looks like. And then you can get to that weird situation like Greg Popovich started, even Tyronn Lue when he was in Cleveland, where they don't like to show their whole playbook during the regular season. So you're not even going to see how these teams even fire off really, because some of their best sets, especially their out of bounds plays, you're not going to see a lot of that until you start getting into the playoffs. So health, depth, and but I do think that Darvin Ham, a guy who's coming off a rookie year coaching and kind of taking some bash from some fans there, I think he's going to want to try to make a name for himself as a head coach in this league. So I think he's going to take the regular season more serious. As you said, the Lakers starting 2-10, last season, they definitely want to revenge that start. So I could see teams like the Lakers. I'm very interested to see how Denver plays now as the hunted instead of the hunters, and that can be defining for their season. Like I said, the rest of them just comes down to health. Who knows how often PG and Kawhi are going to play? If Utah gets off to a good start, Danny Ainge been like, no. I'm going to have to send some of you guys out of here because we want to be in the lottery again. So when you see some of those teams, I think teams like OKC will probably take a leap. Minnesota, I just can't seem to ever figure out. I don't know where to put them either. They could be a team that could be like a fifth seed or be out of the playoffs. Like, it's just, I don't know where to place them. So as far as teams that get like 45 and up, like every year we want to start to believe in the Pelicans, but they're getting to that Clipper level. I don't know if Pell's going to become a thing, but they just seem to just kind of not be able to get things right. So when you start looking at them, you can see a bunch of 40, 45, 47 win teams. And I think you're going to see the teams with something to prove. Maybe the Memphises, the Lakers, and teams like that kind of leapfrog those teams as a result of it. I really do think the Lakers get around 55 wins. I really do.
Joe, Jeff said it about Darvin Ham. Second year, going into what is hopefully going to be an improved coaching season for him. You and I and Stone Hansen, I hope he's doing well. Big shout out to you, Stone. We miss you very much, and hopefully you'll come back to us whenever you can. We're relentless on Darvin Ham as far as his 3-guard rotations, which I'm still allergic to. Might need medication for if he does that again this year. Also, as well, you talk about just the rotations were kind of suspect, but I think around the Minnesota game late in the season that the Lakers won on the road, I told you that day that something clicked with him as far as the second half adjustments, the things he was doing, the way he was planning things out. Things seem to mesh a lot better in his coaching style. I saw a different coach that day, and from then on I saw someone that was able to change on the fly, someone that wasn't so rigid on his rotation, someone that was actually going ahead and making substitutions based off of what was going on in the game. Your thoughts on where Darvin Ham can go from here, and how important and vital is that for the Lakers to have a successful season?
I'm curious if there was outside influence guiding the lineups. There seems to be this analytical, heavy contingency that surrounds sports these days. If there's one sport where analytics are really suspect, it's probably basketball, because if you had a war stat when it comes to the NBA, I mean, one great player can just shatter everything, right? I think Darvin Ham didn't really have the full arsenal at the beginning of the year. He didn't have a team that could gel really at all. Russell Westbrook might have been friends with everybody. He might have made you feel like, well, this is a special player most of his life. People were enamored by it. And a lot of the talk, when you guys talk about these shows who say the West is weak and you turn it off, that's the right thing to do, because that's stupid. That's a stupid comment that comes from nothing. It's similar to what these jackholes, guys that played in the NBA because they're worried about criticizing someone who's not doing the right thing, and they're worried about insulting that person, right? most of the people who keep yapping about how Russell Westbrook is a first ballot Hall of Famer, guys, there was a time when Kobe Bryant, Dirk Nowitzki, Tim Duncan were first. Let's go deeper. Are you going to bring back Kareem Abdul-Jabbar right now? Look, it's over. He's a Hall of Famer, greatest player of all time, arguably. Russell Westbrook has never been, even when he was in his prime, a cohesive team player. And it got worse as he got older. And it was a detriment. Why? Look at the goddamn win and loss record. Don't listen to me. I'm just going by what I saw. And what matters in sports is W's and L's, not the S's. Okay? You can have all the S's you want. W's matter. Now, if you're competing, if Russell Westbrook is going to the finals and losing, or Western Conference Finals and losing, I'm more apt to go, hey, you know what? Fine, right? That's what it is. In a lot of ways, we were trying to see if James Harden could be that guy, but he doesn't seem to even get to the finals really unless he's like a third option, right? Early in his career. So this comes down to wins and losses. So Darvin Ham did not have the recipe to make a good lasagna. Since we're using that analogy now, okay? He had picnic lasagna. He didn't go to Rustico's down the street over here where the true
Let's not
Italians
have a
are.
fight over lasagna,
Okay?
please.
Well, I'm just saying, we're talking about it. We're going to tie it into what we're saying. Make it fun. So Rustico's down the street, OG Italians living here, they make good lasagna. I go to a picnic where they're giving out Pee Wee Awards for football. You're going to get like 4 or 5 different lasagnas, and they're going to be okay. So that's kind of the same situation. As soon as Darvin Ham got a team that actually was a team, lo and behold, holy crap, now he can coach. And he just happened to actually go up a level in the playoffs. I mean, there's no denying that, guys. I saw his adjustments in these games. These are big games. And he did well. And I expect him to do well again, because he has a better team going into this year. It's just going to be a matter of, can the pressure be handled? Of course the pressure can be handled. Anthony Davis and LeBron James are there. LeBron James handles pressure like the great player he is. He's been doing it. And AD's AD. Nothing, you don't ever see AD throwing a cameraman to the side or anything like that. The guy's cerebral. The guy's gets it, right? He deals with the negative and deals with the positive in the same way. And that's going to help Darvin hopefully enhance the guys around them, put something together well. And if he wants to run a 3-guard lineup during the regular season that's effective, so be it. But if it's not effective, then we're going to have to get on him for that. But this is the NBA 2023, 2024, guys. You're seeing it in these lousy international games. Everything's a 3-point shot. So what difference does it make at this point? That's all they want to do now.
Well, it matters because the Lakers are 27th in 3-point efficiency, and that has to improve at least even a little bit. I'm not asking for them to finish in the top 10, but if the team that they have a full year of D'Lo, they have a full year of Austin Reeves in the starting lineup, they have Prince at 38%. They even have Gabe Vincent, which is slightly better, who's a slightly better 3-point shooter in statistics than what Dennis Schroeder could give you off the bench. All those little things and little tweaks should raise the average a little bit up of what they are. And if they can get into the top 20, that's a market improvement and gives them even more opportunities to go ahead and run and also get to the free throw line, which is what they did best to maximize their offense. But Magic Man, some great conversations. Again, just giving everybody the feedback, what I've gotten and what I've gathered so far from the team experts. I'm hoping to get more feedback upcoming when we got Joshua Hicks coming tomorrow and the day after, Aaron Rose, Joshua from Chicago, and Aaron on the Toronto Raptors. So looking forward to those great conversations, plus what we got upcoming for our fans and the listeners and watchers and viewers upcoming next week. But before we head on out, JaVale McGee was finally waived and stretched. And here we go, Joe. You heard that sigh right there. By the Dallas Mavericks He has to clear waivers. It takes about 24 hours, but he'll be a free agent. Nobody's touching that contract. It's pretty safe to assume. Your thoughts on this, my friend? We touched on it quite a bit a week ago. Monday on that show is one of our best rated in the past couple of weeks. People had their opinions on it. A lot of people still think that JaVale McGee still has that old magic you can get out of him to see if he can go ahead and supply you with what you need. The leader in the clubhouse is actually what our good friend and our new subscriber, thank you so much for doing a Taco Business. It seems like, according to Woj, that Sacramento seems to be the leader in the clubhouse for JaVale McGee. Gotcha.
Absolutely, Gerald. Look, when we're talking about signing a player at this stage of the preseason, normally it's hard for me to think of a situation outside. It's you're getting a player. You're not going to the dealership and buying a new car. You're going to the wreckers, which I personally love, and you're looking for a set of nice spark plugs, or you're looking for a nice seat cover. That's what you're looking for when you're at the wreckers. So when you're at the wreckers and you're looking at JaVale McGee, is JaVale McGee in the same category as a Bismack Biyombo? I don't think so. I think McGee has some juice left, Gerald. He can't be a productive, still defensive player. Offense is kind of touch and go with him. But he's able to at least give you 10 to 15 minutes of quality play from him, 35 years old JaVale McGee. So it looks like the Kings, for whatever reason, they're gonna look after him. Like they just recently signed Skal Labissiere.
That's what I was gonna say.
Like they signed a guy. They signed Skal again. They had him, developed him, I guess, to what they thought he could be, Gerald. Let him go, and now he's back into the fold, right? And now you're talking about bringing
partial
in
guarantee, though.
Partial guarantee. Yeah, partial guarantee this time. But now you're bringing him back, and you're possibly bringing in JaVale McGee. It'd be an interesting move for them. I think that's just I think that's depth and cushion for. I really think they got lucky last year, Gerald. This was the healthiest team in the NBA. They didn't have injury problems. That's why they were able to be the upstarts they were. So this year, a couple of things. One, they're not surprising anybody this year because everybody knows that when you play the Sacramento Kings, you better bring it for 48 minutes because they're young. They get up and down. And as we've seen with D Fox, he's turned it around, Gerald. He's become a very clutch player. So in that sense, can JaVale McGee hitch his on the wagon and play a role for them? I think he could. But I think this is more about trying to find ways to reduce Sabonis' minutes because he was gassed in that Game 7, Gerald. At the end, he was gassed.
But it's JaVale,
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Yes. Yeah, that could be said. Washed. Okay. That could be said. No disrespect to him. Hats off. Multiple champion, changed his ways, became a very effective role player. Yeah.
If you take the drug from Limitless, that maybe that's the only way you should be on the Lakers. But let me ask Jeff. Go ahead, Sean. Finish up.
No, I agree.
Yeah. Jeff, what are your thoughts on this? Because we didn't get a chance to ask you because you weren't here yet on the week before. Well, you were in the chat a week ago Monday. Your thoughts, though, a little bit more on McGee. Where do you think he stands? Do you think he's a player that can still help a team, whether it's the Lakers, Sacramento, or anybody else? Or do you think it's finally time that he heads out in the sunset or overseas for the last couple of years of his career?
I think JaVale could be a good vet on a team. I wouldn't want JaVale in my top 8 rotation, maybe even not top 10. If you get him as your 15th player and he's a good locker room guy and a good mentor and a guy that's there in case someone gets hurt, then maybe I don't hate that so much. But to use a spot When there's other guys out there and other guys are going to shake loose, more than likely, I would put him towards the back end of that. If we're sitting here October 20 something right before the season starts and we still don't have a decent big there, then yeah, okay. But
So
JaVale
what would you do on the 14th spot that's right now open?
On the 14th spot, I would wait to see what shake loose. The Lakers, I have a pretty strong feeling the Lakers are praying to every god out there that Isaiah Joe gets cut by OKC. And I think it's a strong possibility that he does. Dead-eye shooter, young, exactly what the Laker needs. He kills us every time too. So I think he's one of the guys they're waiting on to see if that happens. When you look up and down that OKC roster, it's really hard to see who else they move or cut. I don't think they're going to take that money hit by moving Oladipo, and on the other guys' guaranteed money is bigger than Joe's. And he's a immediate impact player. So I think the Lakers are waiting for impact players to get cut. And I do think that, even though I don't like talking about this guy too much, because I don't think he's worth the pub he got, but it's been a while. So I think Christian Wood is a possibility. I think they're waiting to see out. Christian Wood is going to sit back and wait to see if and when the Philly or Portland deals happen, see how many teams are involved in that, how much money gets moved around, if there's teams that can sign him, because even Miami signing him for the minimum right now takes him into another bracket. Like, are they going to go into that tax for Christian Wood? I don't think so. But if they make a move, free up space, and they have more money to spend with one of their exceptions without going into that apron, then Miami becomes possible. All things being considered, if it's minimums all the way around, I believe he ends up a Laker. I think the Lakers would have him today if they guaranteed him a starting spot, but they're not doing that. So I think they're going to look back and see that 14th and 15th slot, which they're going to do. And another reason why I think they did that Cam Reddish deals to get to that 15 for that 90-day rule to keep those three two-way players. And I'm hoping, like the Lakers are, that Isaiah Joe becomes one of them. And they're going to try to sit back and see who shakes loose after that. But as far as JaVale McGee goes, I wouldn't like right now. I think there will be better options available. I think people who want to bring up 2020 need to go a year later and look at 2021. Everyone was begging to get that guy out of town. They couldn't stand him. They couldn't wait to get him out of here. He's going to be 2.5 years older, less productive, and I would pass.
It's just so much after his great performance, filling out the roster and helping out the Lakers in the rotation on the way to a championship. It's been so much of a scattershot deal with him. You know, his time, however effective he was in Phoenix, then you got what he did in Cleveland, then you got what he did in Dallas. Just been mixed results. And I think the latest results, the latest eye test has said, JaVale probably has had too many of his best days behind him in the rearview mirror on that. But I know that Joe, when it comes to JaVale, it just seems like his name just is still out there with Lakers fans. Still think they should go ahead and pick him up. I don't agree with that assessment. I just think it's time for you to move on. The Wenyen Gabriels, the JaVale McGee's, the Tristan Thompson, these guys are stiffs, just glorified stiffs at this point in their career. Just got to move on from those guys and put guys on there that can possibly make a difference, even if it's bringing up one of the two-way guys. Demoy Hodge, Castleton, these guys have a lot of flaws. These guys have a lot of growing up to do, but they also have a lot of things that they can go ahead and bring up. Worst comes to worst, I would rather bring up one or both of those guys than bring on one of those old age and, far too much in the rearview mirror type of guys like that's been talked about constantly. Beyond no, as I always say, those guys they don't help your team win at this point in time, Joe.
No, and I believe the Lakers already know this. The Lakers are making all the right moves at this point. They're waiting for the guy that they want. And if they're patient enough, I believe they will get it either through
worked out for them last year.
Yes, either through some kind of pickup or some trade that they can make during the year when they know who's going to contribute down the stretch versus who isn't. And I think they're playing it brilliantly, and I believe it's going to work out in the end because the Lakers do need at least one big, preferably a starter at center. But I've come to the conclusion that there's a possibility that might not be possible. But if you can at least get that guy, and if I can be hopeful like Gerald Glassford, hope that Jackson Hayes plays better than I think he will. That could be a huge help too.
Yeah, absolutely. If him or Cam Reddish exceeds expectations and finally fills out the potential of both of those lottery picks. They already had one from that draft, as Joe likes to mention. It's the 8th, 9th, and 10th draft picks from that draft that we now have. The 10th draft pick, Rui Hashimura, has exceeded our expectations. If we can get one of those other two to do the same, that would make this team look even better. But that's a big if, Joe, and I agree on that one. 1 out of 3 is usually the ratio.
And you can't have a JaVale McGee on this team anyways, even if he was JaVale McGee of 2020. Now, you could still have him, but he can't be a starter.
Yeah.
You have to open up the lane. This is not LeBron of 2020. If LeBron of 2020 played against Denver in this last series, we would have won the championship this year. So you have to understand LeBron, and that might have been LeBron's dead LeBron because of how the year played out. He might get a little bit better this year from not getting burnt out, but he's still a year older too. So the lane has to stay open at this point. Otherwise, your spacing is going to be garbage, and you're not going to be able to take advantage of what Jeff said, D'Angelo Russell's skills. And Darvin Ham has to work that particular area extensively this year. That's going to be very important. And D'Angelo looks like he's put in the work. AD looks like he's put in the work. You haven't heard anything on the LeBron front, which likely means he's been putting in the work. The Lakers are going for a title this year, and it's likely the last true run where you can use LeBron's talent as a 1A to win a championship. If they are to still compete after this year, they're going to need at least one more star to kind of keep that ball rolling. That's why I'm banking on 2024 as the last really AD LeBron duo championship, because I think another year after that, I think they're going to be the AD would have to have back-to-back MVP type seasons for them to have a chance. But then I think LeBron, will be one less, it's going to be another year of LeBron getting older. 2025 is starting to look like the summer of 2025 is starting to look very interesting if some of these stars do not sign extensions. And I am praying that doesn't happen, because if it is, the Lakers are going to have choices in stars. And I'm talking the stars.
That's the thing. Ever since we were one of the first on it, Sean, as far as Giannis Antetokounmpo, now everybody's talking about it. It's so funny because last week we were talking about JaVale McGee. Now everybody's talking about JaVale McGee. We were talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo. Everybody's now talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo.
When it comes to foreseeing the NBA draft, we're Kasparov playing chess, and everybody.
But that's also what you
checkers.
get. Yes, well, that's also what you get when you have a show that's on regularly like Jeff's and ours is just on more constantly. You're able to go ahead and get this news sooner out to everyone out there. But when it all comes down to it, my friend, I like the fact that we have waited, because if Christian Wood isn't, I'm assuming at this point that there has been an offer made by the Lakers. It's a minimum deal, and Christian Wood has said no. And if that's the case, just continue saying no. If you're going to come on, you're going to come on. If you're not, you're not at this point. There hopefully will be other options. And I believe once the cut down comes, Hernan Gomez, I've also talked about as far as on the show, if he gets cut by New Orleans, because he's on the tail end and he does bring some things as far as spacing out. I think that's also a name you got to keep in mind besides the OKC kids. There's probably a couple others around the league as well. I like the fact that the Lakers have kept it open and in a fail-safe condition. If you really need to do it, if nothing breaks your way, you can always bring up the kids and have them fill out the back end of the roster, at least until you get to the point where you can figure out what to do next.
Absolutely. And Gerald, for everyone's kind of disappointment, it was just announced, I believe the game they recently played against Brazil, and that Willie signed a 3-year deal with FC Barcelona. So he is not going to be playing in the NBA until at the earliest 2026.
Willie who? Hernan Gomez?
Yeah.
I thought I'm talking about Juan Hernan Gomez.
Okay.
Yeah. New Orleans.
You're talking about
which Hernan Gomez is on the New Orleans roster?
Yeah, it was Willie. It
Oh,
was
it's Willie.
Willie.
Also, he was a free agent and signed with.
It's
Okay.
Juan. Yeah, it's Juan.
Okay,
It's Bo
it's Juan.
Cruz. Yeah.
Then okay, it
But
was Willie
still,
then.
it's still one Hernan Gomez to another. They're both very productive players. But Gerald's
Okay.
right. Like that guy, if he's
And
becomes
Georgianos from
available-
Greece has signed with another team overseas for 2
Okay.
years. So
It's,
that
all
I've
right.
heard.
it's so nice you guys cleared that up. That was very
Yes.
nice.
Yeah, well, we're talking here.
Both
Just
of
So
sitting
no
there.
more
Both of
Hernan
you.
Gomez there. Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Anyway, yeah, I'm glad he's remained patient, Gerald. No, I mean, quite literally, so he could have not panicked. That's not the right word, but just been a little bit more impulsive and signing Wood, and maybe wouldn't have the options you have now. There are a lot of options open, as yourself and Jeff have talked about. So he's remaining patient, and there's still, it feels like the season's around the corner, but there's a whole lot of action still left as far as executives are concerned. Drew, we still got training camp. We've got cuts from training camp, and we're gonna find out pretty like there's still, as Jeff was alluding to it, you've alluded to it, Gerald. There are still teams with 17, 18 guys on the roster, and you got to trim it down because you only got 3 2-ways and 1 Exhibit 10. That's all you have in the war chest now in the NBA. You can't play this game where, well, I'm gonna sign this guy to a 3-year deal, but he could go down to the G League anytime we need him. No, it doesn't work like that. So this isn't baseball. This isn't hockey. Usually, when you sign a player, it's not. There aren't options attached to it. They're either on your roster or they're not. So I'm glad he's remained patient, Gerald. We've talked about it before. It's bode well for him and for the Lakers that he's just sat back and just watched what's going on. We're applauding Rob Pelinka this year, ladies and gentlemen. So far, we are applauding him. That's conditional, though. That's conditional on this show.
Yes.
We don't
go back
ass.
don't go back off the
kiss
rails.
ass.
Yes, this time last year we were just like Rob jokes were plenty. Joe had his Rob printout right there, as he would use it over his face. Yes, so he was the butt of our jokes for quite a spell.
And now Rob is money.
There you go, indeed.
There it was.
Empire Jeff. The thing in the chat I've noticed since we've been started this conversation was, I know that it was mentioned by Darren, but it was also mentioned by several others as well. Vincent, give a big shout out to him. Wanted to go ahead and mention was the fact that they want a big player. Intel Wild mentioned as well, as far as a big player that hopefully can put some type of body against Jokic, or else he'll have us for lunch. Well, they mentioned Taco Tuesday, but I wanted to ask your thoughts on this, Jeff. Yes, we do need a big body to go ahead and face off against Jokic, but we also need a stretch 5. So there are very few individuals who fit both criteria. The one that only comes to mind for me right now that actually plays decent defense, can stretch the floor, and can put a lot of body against Jokic, is Jonas Valanciunas. Somebody you'd have to go make a trade for, who's still young enough to do it, because I think it's 29, right around there, late 20s if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So you would have to make a trade for him, and of course Griffin would be there just licking his chops at the prospects of that. He doesn't become a free agent until next summer, which obviously would be a tantalizing thing for us to go ahead and look into next year. But your thoughts on this, my friend? It's probably not going to work out where we get a large center that can stretch the floor realistically anytime soon. That would be able to start or play significant amount of minutes against Jokic. So where do you draw the line as far as providing that kind of backup big or starting big or just a big that could go ahead and take care of some of those needs that I've been discussing?
I mean, there's a couple of guys out there who I think I'm not sure they find that guy by October. They don't need to have him by October, and they need to have him by May.
Agreed.
So So at the end of the day, I think when you look at it, and I'm not even convinced that the best way to try to beat Denver is to try to stop Joker. I'm not convinced with that. So I think you need more wing depth and more guard, the guard defenders to
I
kind of
think
neutralize
Murray is the
Murray.
key.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think if you try to sit back and stack up, I mean, you look back, obviously he's not Shaq, but look at all the teams that try to stack up on centers. Didn't do any good. It won't matter, So at the end of the day, make him run. Get him out there. Get him involved in pick and roll. You need bucket getters, is what you need. What the Lakers ran into problems where they couldn't hit shots in the fourth quarter. They couldn't get offensive rebounds. They couldn't stop people in transition. We're sitting here trying to figure out how to add things to stop Joker when we got to look at what Denver lost to. I mean, losing Bruce Brown was huge for them. Huge. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I don't think you really need to go down that path and get too crazy with it. I think you need shot makers. I think you need guys who can get back on defense. And I think you can sort the rest out. There's Valanciunas. Well, I'll tell you this, and I don't hear a lot of people talking about this right now. So the Lakers and Pelicans got a little interesting situation coming up in this next year. So that 24 pick that could become the 25, the Pelicans have the option to push that back. They may try to tax the Lakers for that. Hey, we'll push this back here and give you your pick this year if you make it worth our while. Maybe that leads to a bigger trade in Valanciunas. You know what I mean? There's a reason to have a conversation between those two teams, because it doesn't probably make any sense for New Orleans to want that 24 pick. They would probably want the 25 pick, but they want the Lakers to think they want the 24 pick. So a natural dialogue is going to occur there, I'm sure, multiple times during the season. And let's see where New Orleans are when you're sitting there and you've got, if BI is hurt again, if Zion is hurt again, and all these CJs hurt again, and then you may be sitting back where New Orleans is like, we're going to push this pick back. Let's see if we can get something. We're going to not re-sign this guy. So let's see if we can get a little more to move that pick back and get this swap here and make it happen. So I think that lines up. Another thing, keep really strong attention to the day before the start of the regular season, or all these other guys who can sign extensions when they don't sign them. Because when they don't sign their extensions and teams are far apart on deals and know they're not going to re-sign them, then those guys who can be moved, and probably half of them might be moved, become legitimate opportunities. And there's a couple trade packages out there that I think the Lakers are sitting back on and looking at D'Lo's money as an option. And a lot of, you can get 2-for-1s for D'Lo in a lot of these scenarios, because I think I've said this before. The tiers of trading isn't just on 110%, 100%, 125%. Those aren't the full tiers anymore when it comes to doing trades. D'Lo's bracket, which was so smartly placed, as well as Gabe Vincent's contract of 1.9 less than that full mid-level, it's all dollars and cents. And so Rob is lined up to swing trade it almost $15 million up or down when it comes to D'Lo. So, and he can do it, and he can aggregate him. So at the end of the day, the Lakers are sitting back just perfect when it comes to that, because even if D'Lo doesn't play well, someone's going to want that expiring contract at the end to get off of something. So I don't think the Lakers I don't think they're worried too much about filling this by October. I really don't. I think they're looking at who gets cut and let loose prior to the season, December 15th, January 15th, and the trade deadline. I think that's what they're looking at, because again, you don't have to have a stopper for Joker by the start of the season. If that's what you're focused on, it has to be later, but I think they need to focus more on the guards.
I think that's very well said. I think that's something like I said, if Murray goes off again, Jokic is, who has found a really substantial way to go ahead and figure out a way to go find a way to stop Jokic. And I don't see anybody at this point in time being able to stop Jokic. And it's just, that's the thing. So Murray has to be the key, because if he's playing alongside Jokic and just blowing up like he did in the playoffs, that could be a problem for any team, including the Lakers. But Joe, want to ask you this. It's been all over chat. Zangerstein's here. Great to have you here, Z. Great to have you back. I want to ask you this, though. Adam just mentioned the chat, John Wall as an option if Gabe Vincent doesn't work out. Gabe Vincent, from a lot of us have been said, as far as a positive is concerned, there has been a few people who have questioned the signing of Gabe Vincent. He is not on a huge contract, so if it doesn't work out, it's not like it's the be all end all. I think he'll be solid for us. Plus, he has played well in the playoffs. He's shown that. Didn't play well in the finals, but then again on Miami, who really did. Your thoughts, though, on Gabe Vincent and the guard play, being such a key for the Lakers going forward. John Wall, to me, I think is not the answer anymore.
Yeah, John Wall's not the answer to
He did
anyone.
such a great job for the Clippers.
He's not the answer to anyone in the NBA. Matter of fact, I think there's been discussions that he's going to be playing overseas. I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if that's something he would want to do. I think he should retire and just do TV work. I think he's best suited for that at this point in his career. Looking at the Lakers in terms of whom they brought in, Gabe Vincent being one. Gabe Vincent does provide something in terms of kind of the grit, the push for D'Lo to perform. I don't know if it's drastic, though. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think D'Lo understands that if it doesn't work out in LA, he'll have another place to showcase his skills. I don't think he's too worried about it. But D'Lo has shown a maturity that's obviously different than when he first came to LA. If you look at his work so far this summer, he's looking like he's in pretty damn good shape. I think he might have even added maybe 5 to 10 pounds of muscle to maybe combat a little bit more of the physicality that he probably dealt with during the Denver series. Because if he can get good separation and still keep that jump shot fluid, you're going to have someone who's likely going to be playing better this year versus how he played last year. But last year isn't really a good barometer. He was only there for a couple months. They had the playoffs, and that was it. He's going to have a training camp now. He's going to have built-in chemistry with this team already. It's going to get better. And he never seemed to gripe or whine when he was on the bench. He was very supportive, very, very, very into the games. So I think one thing that we're not paying attention to with this team is it looks very, very cohesive already. It looks cohesive. The only guy that can kind of put a monkey wrench in that is someone that's been putting a monkey wrench in other things, which I think they can, distinguish quickly, which is our good friend Rubbish. I'm sorry, not Rubbish. Reddish. So I do not believe
his 3-point shot has been rubbish throughout.
I do not believe Reddish will change his stripes, but I also said that about Dwight Howard in 2020, and I was wrong. So a little bit of me wants to jinx it, but if Reddish starts talking about gameplay and minutes, get him out of there, because Reddish has to understand. Unless he starts shooting 45%, 42% from three, and is doing it, playing 15 minutes one night, 8 minutes one other night, 25 minutes another night, 12 minutes another night. If he doesn't understand that that's going to be his role on this team, then he needs to go. Can't have any distractions this year. We're already playing with the injury distraction. We can get that out of the way. We don't need some malcontent who doesn't think he is getting a fair shake for the 4th time in his career. After the second one, you've lost your opportunity to use that excuse. And it's a good acquisition for the Lakers to just see, could he come through? Maybe he will. It's happened before. We saw it with Dwight Howard. So any one of these guys, Gabe Vincent, Reddish, Prince, Vanderbilt, Rui, if any of these guys play, let's say, the 5th and 6th guys that are ascending their talent from the previous season, this team will win what Jeff said they'll win, which is 55 games, and that might be a 1 or 2 seed.
55 should be, yeah.
Yeah, 55 is likely going to be a 1 seed.
That's what I was saying earlier in the show. 55 is a good number.
And the Lakers need to, I know it's game 1, but we have been sucking ass in opening nights. That needs to change. 2 things need to change right out the gate. You got to win that damn first game and stop losing to the mother effing freaking Clippers. Enough already. I want to sweep this year, and you'll have that opportunity. Because those geriatric clowns are done in my book. They can go get James Harden. They can go get James Harden's cousin. They can go get the dead corpse of John Wall. I don't care who they get. Okay,
Joe, I
they're
actually
gonna
want
stink.
Joe. To be honest with you, I want them to win the series this year. I want them to sweep next year when they're in their arena. I want them to sweep then. That would be the
both.
ultimate result. They swept them entirely next year when they were in their own arena. That would be just awesome.
In the toilet center.
Yes. So that would be
like
with the brand new toilets.
More than anyone in the league.
Go ahead.
The Los Angeles Flushers. That's what they're going to be.
I mean, there's only one word I could have used here, but can't.
I'm trying to be careful here. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm much more.
That's one of the things I'm actually looking for. When Jeff invited us to his show, that was the first. I was excited about that because now I can probably throw a couple of things in there.
Oh,
yeah,
I encourage
well,
it.
you could say it. There's better looking roadkill that smells better and looks
You'll
better.
get playback, Joe.
Than what that team is going to be this year. And by the way, do you think if when Harden said that, and I guarantee you he thought about this, do you think when he made that trade request he was thinking, oh yeah, Paul George and Kawhi, they're just gonna be just begging that management to come and trade me? That's what he thought, Gerald. That's literally what he thought, and then didn't happen because those guys actually did get together and said, because we can't have a team that has a backcourt with Russell Westbrook and James Harden. Because let me tell you something, Gerald. That's the only way the LA Clippers would sell tickets this year, is if those two were in the backcourt together. Because a lot of people would want to see that dysfunction up close and personal.
Absolutely.
I would love to see it up close and personal.
If I was in LA and that happened, Jeff, I would go see a game. I literally would.
Oh, I like going to a Clipper game just to fight with Clipper Darrell. It's incredible. It's amazing. I have so much fun with that.
Did you see that video of him being knocked out?
Oh yeah. I remind him of that often. Often. That's why I call it the Clippers. The Clippers have the curse. Like it's the Clipper Darrell curse. It's a real thing, and I just can't get enough of rubbing that into him.
Bloodhound, you got to remember he doesn't drive to the arena. Kawhi flies in the helicopter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because his Tahoe that's 17 years old finally broke down on him.
The gas guzzler.
Yeah, like what the hell are you doing, brother? You just got a brand new. You got $200 million contracts, and you're still driving.
He's earned over $250 million in his career.
A Tahoe, like a '95 Tahoe. Come on.
He's got a cupboard full of cup of noodles still. So I'm nowhere close to kidding.
Word. Okay.
Like he's still there. Okay, Kawhi is Shout out to
different,
Kawhi,
man. He's different.
Yeah. Just
that he is. That he is indeed. Great conversation though. Everybody was killing it in the chat. The best Lakers chat room that's out there is the Lakers Fast Break. Guys, any last thoughts before we head on out? It's been a great conversation. Was looking for a topic today, and I was thinking I was going back to the shows, and I saw, I just gathered in all the intel and from what we talked about, and that came up with a consensus on there. So it looks like, again, it's not our official thoughts. We'll go ahead and elaborate more as it gets closer in case there's any injuries or last minute adjustments, trades, what have you. But guys, any last thoughts before we head out? Jeff, what are you working on, man, at Empire Jeff TV?
Working on a few different things. I can't announce some things. Yeah, I'm trying to line up a couple of interviews that I think I've got, but I don't want to say anything until they're done because I'll look like a moron. So outside of that, I'm trying to think of the next topic. There's really not a lot going on right now. I've got some stuff coming up about who I think the Lakers trade targets are going to be. I think people will enjoy that because I think I know who their top trade package is. And so I've got that coming up, hopefully. And that might be next week. This week, I'm trying to squeeze in the episode where I kind of break down the CP trade and then the whole how many rings would Kobe have got if CP and that trade went through. So I think that's going to be a real fun episode. Trying to do that this week with Dan the Laker fan, and then next week I'm going to try to do the trade packages. I think the Lakers are zeroing in on if and when D'Lo doesn't work. But outside of that, you can find me pretty much here, right now before I knock that stuff out.
I cannot wait until we get the Western Conference experts in here especially Golden State. I'm going to have a lot of fun with that one, especially with the Chris Paul talk. That's going to be so enjoyable to talk about that because that team is just, it looks like it's either going to go and hit sky's the limit or it's just going to implode. It reminds me a lot in many ways of the Lakers team 2 years ago when they got the geriatric roster and you saw how that worked out. You know, the all-star team from 2013 didn't work out well for the Lakers. So will the all-star team from 2016 work out well for the Golden State Warriors? We'll find out. But
one thing real quick, I want to slide in real quick.
Sure.
Keep an eye on how ugly that situation gets in Philly. And if it gets to the point where Philly is like, okay, we understand we're not going to get much for him. Let's get us someone who can play and get out for this. And I know it may sound crazy, but as you look around the league and see the teams who actually make that deal and may work for them just as bad as what they're sending out, the Warriors are a potential landing spot for James Harden for that CP contract. It solves the same exact problem for the Warriors that trading CP did, getting pools off the books. And CP could play for Philly this year and would be better than not having just Harden on the sideline talking trash. So keep an eye on it. I think that's a deal you might see talked about later.
Joe, any last thoughts, my friend, before we head on out? Great conversation tonight. You guys were all bringing it, and I truly appreciate you taking the time to talk to everybody out there today.
Well, if CP3 ends up in Philly, you can guarantee that Joel Embiid will be either a Miami Heat or a Knick after that.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. It's trending that way almost anyways because this Harden situation is that bad. So that could happen.
I want to see how the league and the Players Association deals with this because at what point is Adam Silver going to continue to take it in the face? He's been taking it in the face for the last 3 years. I think he needs to start channeling a little bit of David Stern, maybe even a little bit of a Roger Goodell, and start telling Michelle Roberts to sit down and shut your trap because I'm not going to allow players in this league to just disrespect every official, GM or otherwise. This is ridiculous. It looks like a clown show. And the biggest clown is James Harden, and the ventriloquist or the hand up the ventriloquist's ass is Michelle Roberts. Somebody needs to call these people out. It's a players' league, okay? We get it. You guys are getting what you want. You're getting paid what you want. You're all happy. But there is a line to draw here. Now, I may come off as a guy that wants to support the owners, but I don't. I could care two Clipper toilets about the owners of the NBA, okay? But at the same time, when you have a representative of your league in another country, a country that I'm not very fond of, cracking on representatives of that league like they're garbage, they need to be reprimanded.
And that was kind of the strategy. He went at Morey in China because China hates Morey. So that was a strategic move, and it was a dirtbag move.
Yeah,
and I think the league should mellow and Dwight Howard him. I think they should phase him out of the league at this point because he's unlike those other guys. Whether what way you didn't like the way they played or not, those guys didn't deserve an exile. James Harden does. So
yes,
and I think it right.
And the NBA needs to support this. You need to support Morey and support the league. And if this clown doesn't want to play, let him sit his ass at home and don't ever play again or go to China. They'll love you there. They love Stephon Marbury for almost 15 years. Mm-hmm. You got a spot over there. Go sell your wine, your champagne, or whatever piss water that you sell over there. Stay there. Grow. See how long your beard will be allowed over there. By the way, just a heads up.
That's true too. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not. Again, every time we start talking about this, something veers into that water. But I'll hold back on that. But at this point, we're putting it all on James Harden. He is a clown. He's been a clown for a very long time. He dresses like a clown. He speaks like a clown. And what you need to do is watch Uncle Buck and see how he handles clowns.
Right there.
Get back in your mouse.
One of the best drunken clowns ever, by the way.
That was mental from Dumb and Dumber, by the way. One of the greatest characters ever.
Here's a quarter. Go downtown. Have a rat.
Nothing off your face. Yeah. The principal,
Somebody,
right?
But
somebody.
Villanova.
Sometime, and here's a lesson. Sometimes kids need to just be kids, and those kids needed to hear an adult talk to another adult like that. That's a beautiful thing. Uncle
Absolutely.
Buck was great.
Shout out John Candy, man. Absolute legend. Miss that guy.
Miss him
Sean,
a lot.
we were on the show earlier today, the Chicks podcast, which you can find on YouTube. Did you have a good time? It was, a great conversation with the ladies. They only discussed a little bit about the Lakers. Mostly was on the Kobe statue. Then they went a whole bunch of NFL talk. Your thoughts on that, my friend? It was a great conversation. I put the link in the chat, so if you want to go ahead and give those ladies a shout out, it's there for you. A great conversation. I hope you can support them as well. Sean?
Yeah, absolute, Gerald. Please out there, please support Three Chicks and a Pod.
Actually, it's the Chicks podcast on
Podcast,
YouTube. Yeah, somebody else took that moniker.
Jen, Carey, and Candy were so fantastic. Very genteel ladies. Know their stuff too. So it was an hour that flew by, Gerald. It was a great conversation. I had a blast, and hopefully we can be on again sometime.
Absolutely. I know they wanted us to talk about Simone Biles. We didn't even get to Simone Biles and her dominance. So that tells you we had a great conversation. They went all over the NFL, talking about the latest cuts, getting down to those 53-man rosters, the interesting things in the league to look for. They asked kind of like our picks in a broad sense, as far as from the, whether it was the AFC or the NFC. We shared our thoughts on the NFL in great detail. It turned out to be more of a football pod than a basketball pod. But if you're interested, please know they cornered Sean on his love for the Raiders, so
we were all able to agree that the Chargers just suck.
Yes, well,
they're the Clippers of football. Yep, Chargers going Charge, Clippers going Clip, and shout out to the toilets.
Yes, the Carson Chargers indeed. But then we talked about of course, the dismay going on in Arizona, Indianapolis. What's going on there with Jonathan Taylor.
Gerald, if they're, just as a aside before we head out, if Arizona wants to go down this road, they can. It's just Miami tried this crap before in 2020. They were the last place team, but they happened to win 2 meaningless games in November. And you know who ended up with Joe Burrow, don't you, Gerald? It was in the Miami Dolphins.
That's for sure. I'm putting in the chat for everyone as far as to not only their channel, but also our conversation with them as well. Hope you get a listen. Hope we'll give a listen. So, yeah, enjoyed our time there, but wanted to go ahead and mention again, it is the Chicks podcast. They're a small podcast and wanted to go ahead and support them. Please, just like Empire Jeff TV, please go ahead and subscribe. Our goal is to get ours, Jeff's, and also just everybody out there that can go ahead and support all the shows that we cover. Please go ahead and do so. Support them today by subscribing like ours to get the latest notifications on when we go live with one of our great shows, one of Jeff's great shows, Agree to Disagree podcast. It just really helps us out. Mean it, because I know that we were all on a high when we were above 1,000, going to 1,200. It was great until the bots came in. But you know what? We're not deterred. We're almost back up there again. We truly, whether it's John McCallion, whether it's Jeff TV, please go ahead and support all these great channels, because you make the difference for us for all of these shows. But guys, great thoughts indeed. I know you guys got a lot to take care of with Jeff TV, Simblades. Magic Man and I are trying to corner down more interviews upcoming for those team roundups. So really good things to look forward to. And it starts tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific. We're talking to Joshua Hicks. He's going to be there talking to Chicago Bulls. Thursday at 5 p.m., it's Aaron Rose talking to Toronto Raptors. Please look forward to our conversations with them. Please support those conversations. I know they're not based mainly on the Lakers. They're based mainly on those teams, but we do ask their opinions on the Lakers. So please give them a shot. But again, subscribe, like, do whatever you can to help us out, because it's truly appreciated. From Jeff TV, from Joe Soro, from Sean Grice, and also myself, Gerald Glassford. Thanks for listening. Hope you have a great evening, and we'll see you tomorrow right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.